October 11, 1926, in front of Chicago's Holy Name Cathedral, over 1,000 bullets were fired in 10 minutes that changed the city's fate. Hymie Weiss, Al Capone's greatest rival and the ruthless leader of the North Side Gang, would take his last breath that day. But how was this assassination planned, and how did one of America's most famous mob wars come to an end?
My name is Frank Rio, and the story I'm about to tell you is a tale of revenge that took place on one of Chicago's darkest days, a story in which I was directly involved. On a cold October morning in 1926, I was Al Capone's right-hand man. In those days we were in the final stages of our plan to eliminate Hymie Weiss, known as the man responsible for the blood flowing in Chicago's streets. That morning, the gray sky over Chicago's state streets seemed like a harbinger of the violence that would unfold in the hours ahead. There was only one thing I had learned from my family who immigrated from Sicily to the United States: loyalty and revenge. My devotion to Al Capone wasn't just an employer-employee relationship. He was like a brother to me, a leader, maybe even a father. And Hymie Weiss had dared to attempt on this man's life. Weiss's real name was Earl Wojciechowski. He was the son of a Polish immigrant family, like thousands of immigrants trying to build a new life in America, just like me. However, instead of choosing legal paths, he had taken leadership of the North Side Gang and made himself one of Chicago's most dangerous men. With his blonde hair, sharp blue eyes, and his preference for always wearing suits with his elegant demeanor, he looked like a harmless businessman from the outside. But behind this appearance lay a ruthless killer who tried every means to kill Al Capone. The animosity between us and Weiss wasn't just a territorial dispute. This was a personal war. Months earlier, Weiss's men had attacked the Hawthorne in one of Al Capone's favorite places, with machine guns. My being there that day had saved my boss's life, but I'll never forget the rage in Capone's eyes. "This Polish bastard is trying to kill me, Frank," he had said. "I'll show him that there can only be one Scarface in Chicago." Weiss's tactics were also quite cunning and calculated. The man had become a paranoid who had spies in every corner of Chicago, where every move was watched, every word heard. He had men everywhere, from speakeasies to the city's most luxurious clubs. We had even learned that he was trying to buy some of our own men. This situation infuriated Al Capone even more. Once Weiss's men had raided our liquor warehouse on the south side. We lost 5 men that night. Among them was Salvatore, Tony Lombardo's brother. Salvatore was a young kid, barely in his 20s. He had just arrived from Sicily and was trying to live the American dream. Weiss's bullets had shattered that dream. Tony, while crying at his brother's funeral, had sworn revenge. "Frank," he had said, "I won't rest until I spill this Polish scoundrel's blood." On that cold October morning, we had gathered at our hideout in Chicago's North Side. Capone sat in his chair with his thick cigar, that familiar spark of anger in his eyes. The scars on his face that earned him the nickname Scarface were more pronounced in the dim light of the room. The other men in the room, Louis Barco, Albert Anselmi, and Machine Gun Jack McGurn, silently listened to their boss. The air was thick with cigar smoke and tension. "Frank," he said to me, his voice low but determined, "did you learn Weiss's routine?" "Yes, boss," I replied. "Every Monday morning at 11:30, he goes to Holy Name Cathedral. He prays, as if he thinks God will forgive him. From there he goes to his office on State Street. Same route, same time, every week. Moreover, he always uses the same blue Cadillac, and Patrick Murray is always with him." McGurn interrupted, "Boss, this guy's routine being this regular is a gift for us. It's like he's digging his own grave." A cold smile appeared on Capone's lips. "Praying to God won't save him, Frank. We are his gods now." He took a deep breath from his cigar. "Tomorrow he'll say his last prayer in that cathedral." Then Albert Anselmi, who was in the room, spoke with his Sicilian accent. "Boss, We need to do this job clean. Police come very fast to that area. Is our escape plan ready? Don't worry, Albert, I said. Everything is planned. We'll take positions in the building across from the cathedral. As soon as Weiss gets out of the car, we'll open fire. Then we'll use the route to Lower Wacker Drive and get away from there. Capone stood up and walked toward the window. Looking at Chicago's gray sky, he said, "This city has seen enough blood. But Weiss's blood will bring peace. With his death, there will be only one king left in Chicago." That night, when I returned home, the cold wind blowing through Chicago's streets seemed like a harbinger of what would happen tomorrow. At my home in the small Italian neighborhood, my wife Maria greeted me with worried eyes. "Frank, you have that look in your eyes again," she said. "What's going to happen tomorrow?" "Don't worry, amor," I told her. "I'm just going to do my job." But Maria's worried looks increased the uneasiness inside me. Killing Hymie Weiss wasn't just a job. It was a war that would determine Chicago's future. The next morning, October 11th, 1926, the sun was barely penetrating through the clouds. The winter cold was already making itself felt on Chicago's streets. My team had taken positions in the building across from Holy Name Cathedral. Tommy guns were ready. Everyone had enough ammunition. Along with Louis Barco and Albert Anselmi, who were among Capone's most trusted men, I had crossed over to the cathedral and hidden in the windows facing State Street, where Weiss would come. At 11:20, when I looked out to the street, there was that typical Monday morning bustle of Chicago. People were going to work. Trams were ringing. No one knew that this peaceful morning would turn into a massacre scene in a few minutes. When the cathedral bells rang 11:20, my heart started beating faster. "Are you ready, boys?" I whispered to Albert and Louis. Both nodded. Albert had that familiar Sicilian determination in his eyes. Louis was wiping the barrel of his Tommy gun, just like a hunter waiting for his prey. A blue Cadillac appeared from the end of the street. As Weiss's car approached, I felt time slow down. There were 4 people in the car, and all of them would be dead in a few minutes. Or at least, that's how we planned it. At 11:25, Weiss's blue Cadillac came right in front of the cathedral. He was at the wheel, with his loyal bodyguard Patrick Murray sitting beside him. Murray was a tough Irishman. He was loyal to Weiss like a dog, and ready to give his life to protect his boss. In the back were lawyer W. O'Brien and driver Sam Peller. 4 men were approaching the cathedral, completely unaware of their fate. As Weiss got out of the car, he checked his surroundings as always. He was a paranoid man and could always smell danger. But that day, perhaps with the thought of entering God's house, he had relaxed his attention. With his gray coat, he put his black hat on his head and began walking toward the cathedral steps. "They're coming," I whispered. I placed my fingers on the Tommy gun's trigger. One of Chicago's most dangerous men was walking just a few meters away, unaware of anything. My heart was beating fast. My fingers were trembling on the Tommy gun's trigger. Weiss got out of the car, with his gray coat, walking toward the cathedral steps, with his usual confident steps. Patrick Murray was following him, alert as always. "Now," I whispered. And then hell broke loose. Thousands of bullets turned State Street, in front of Holy Name Cathedral, into a battlefield. The rat-a-tat-a sound of Tommy guns shattered Chicago's quiet Monday morning. Weiss's body was almost dancing as the bullets hit him. Red stains appeared on his gray coat, then he collapsed to the ground. Patrick Murray, trying to protect his boss, fell beside Weiss with the bullets he took to his chest. 2 men were dying on the steps of Holy Name Cathedral, right in front of God's house. Ironically, the place where Weiss prayed every week had become his grave. When the shooting stopped, there was a terrible silence on the street. Weiss's body was unrecognizable with the bullets he took to his head. Patrick Murray's eyes were open, looking at his boss as he took his last breath. Lawyer O'Brien was wounded but alive. Driver Peller had survived by taking shelter in the car. As police sirens approached, my team and I used our pre-planned escape route to get away from there. Running through Chicago's narrow streets, the magnitude of what we had just done hit me. Hymie Weiss, Al Capone's greatest rival, had now become history. But this wasn't just a murder. Chicago's balance had completely changed. During the escape, as we ran toward Lower Wacker Drive, the sound of sirens rising from Chicago's streets echoed in my ears. Albert Anselmi, running beside me, said, "Frank, it's been 10 minutes since this job was finished, but the city is already a different place." He was right. With Weiss's death, a new era was beginning in Chicago's criminal world. When we reached the safe house, the first thing we did was destroy our weapons. Not leaving traces was vital in these jobs. We had dismantled the Tommy guns and thrown them into the Chicago River. The police would definitely search for evidence at the crime scene, but we had nothing to give them. When I returned to Capone that evening, my boss was unusually calm. He was listening to the news on the radio. "Double murder committed at Holy Name Cathedral," the announcer was saying. Polish-born Hymie Weiss and his bodyguard Patrick Murray were killed by machine gun fire. Capone turned off the radio and turned to me. "You did good work, Frank," he said. "With Weiss's death, the North Side gang will fall apart. Chicago is ours now." But there was an emptiness in his eyes, as if destroying an enemy hadn't given him the satisfaction he expected. "You know, Frank," he continued, "there was a personal animosity between me and Weiss, but I'm not sad that he's dead. The only thing I'm sad about is that he died so early. I would have wanted him to suffer more." In the following days, Chicago newspapers called the incident the Holy Name Cathedral Massacre. The Chicago Tribune's headline read, "Massacre in front of God's house." According to police count, over 1,000 bullets had hit the cathedral facade and surroundings. 14 bullet wounds were found on Weiss's body. It went down in history as one of the most violent mob assassinations in United States history. Chicago police, in their investigation at the crime scene, found hundreds of bullet marks on the cathedral's stone walls. Some bullets had even penetrated inside the cathedral. Weiss's blood left traces on Holy Name Cathedral's steps for days. Despite all police efforts, no suspects could be caught, because we had planned everything perfectly. But this assassination wasn't just revenge. It was one of the most critical events of the Prohibition era that changed the balance in Chicago's criminal world. With Weiss's death, the North Side gang's power was broken, and Al Capone's dominance in Chicago was consolidated. Now there was only one king in the city, and that was Scarface, Al Capone. Years later, when I think about that day, I remember Hymie Weiss's last moments. On that cold October morning in Chicago, on the steps of Holy Name Cathedral, in front of God's house, as he took his last breath. Perhaps for the first time he felt real remorse, but it was too late. In Prohibition-era America, there was no such thing as forgiveness. Only the strong could survive.
The killing of Hymie Weiss became one of the turning points in Chicago mob history. After this assassination, Al Capone's dominance in the city was consolidated and the North Side gang's power was completely broken. Those bloody 10 minutes in front of Holy Name Cathedral put an end to one of the most violent mob wars in United States Prohibition-era history. Weiss's death changed Chicago's fate and put the city under Al Capone's absolute control. History's most famous mob leader was now without rivals.